the way that we tend to live in, how could you say, history. Because really that's our thinking mind. It's a collection of history for the most part. Whatever's in your mind, for the most part, a lot of it, not every bit of it, but you've ingested from somewhere else. You've gotten from somewhere else. And wherever you got it from, they got it from somewhere else. Or they came upon it, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And this sort of collective, it's kind of like a collective mind. This is what I mean by history. Did you ever get the feeling, or did you ever notice that say where we are right now, in the point in history we're in, which is now, which is always the point in history that anybody's in, but we won't get into that too far. But there's a tendency to think we've got a lot of things really well figured out. And I imagine we got certain things figured out. I mean, we can fly in airplanes to get to conferences, and you couldn't do that, 100 years ago. We've got certain things, practical things, figured out. But if you've looked at most ages in any point in time, they always think they got it pretty well figured out. 2,000 years ago, I imagine they thought they had it pretty well figured out. The Greeks thought they pretty much had things figured out for the most part. There's a lot of things that aren't known, but, at least we're ahead of where the people were 1,000 years before us. And so now we look back and we go, well, we've got things figured out pretty well. Those poor people that existed 500 years ago, they don't know nearly what we know today. Guess what they're going to be saying 500 years from now? But at the rate of rapid exponential progress that we make, they'll probably be saying it in about 50 to 100 years. They'll be going, geez, those poor, unenlightened, underdeveloped, clods of the 21st century. Now, like I said, I'm not necessarily talking about very practical things. There's a lot of practical inventions. But there's a mind structure that we inherit through culture. And culture passes on to one culture or another over time. And what's important about this is this is what this is our sort of cultural inheritance. And it colors the way we see everything. 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 And that becomes extraordinarily important. Because if the word sacred has any meaning at all that's useful, that's real, then sacred, in the same way that in the time that you and I are existing right now, one of the revolutions we're in the middle of, for better or worse, it's just what's happening, is we are witnessing the breaking away of spirituality from religion. That's what's happening. That doesn't mean that's not a knock against religion or for spirituality. It's just not very long ago, if you wanted to really pursue any of your spiritual interests, you had to do it through religion for the most part. That was the avenue through which it was done. That is breaking down.